Hello and welcome to Aurelian University. In this video, we're going to talk about these lesson points that I have right here. Variables, what they are, so that they're containers, they hold data, how they're created, how are different types of data that we can hold in variables, different operations that we can do using variables, so just a couple of simple things, and what kinds of types of data can be what's called converted explicitly versus implicitly in Python. And so just really quickly here, we're going to go through these points, but in general in these videos from here on out, we're going to have a lot more structure in them. The first couple is just sort of getting you started, but now we should be able to have a lot of structure and you should be able to sort of predict a little bit better what you're going to be seeing. So first of all, variables are containers that hold data. So just like in math where we might have y equals x squared, or y and x both represent abstractly values, we have variables here which are just sort of words that we use when we're scripting to abstractly represent some sort of value. So here we have the word string, and it's holding this value that says string. And so whenever we're putting text in, we'll always put it in either single or double quotes. Here we have the word integer, and it holds this value 16. And here we have the word double, and it holds 16.9, and Boolean, which holds true. Now you could call these things anything you wanted as long as we're using alphanumeric characters, so like A through Z, either uppercase or lowercase, and numbers. We can use numbers as well, although we'll want to start with alphanumeric characters. And also we can use underscores, so we can use that symbol. But when we create a variable and then set it as equal to something, that variable then holds this data. So we're going to go ahead and print all of these things and just let you see. So first I'm going to change my directory to the correct directory that holds this file in it, and then I'll run Python 3, the Python 3 command, lesson3.py. And so you see here when I say print string, it prints the value of the string. Also, we can do this thing, which is really cool. We can add a string to a string, and it just plops one after the other. So if you print string plus string, it's string twice. If you multiply string by 5, that's a multiplication symbol, then it will print it 5 times in a row, which is kind of cool. So it creates a new variable, it creates a new set of data that has this in it 5 times. We can print the integer and the variable double, and it prints them out. And we can print Boolean, it prints that. And I'm not sure why I did this string in here twice. That's kind of silly of me. But as you can see, referencing the name references the data, which is, it's kind of cool. It's very important also. So the next thing we want to talk about is that variables can be created and named with certain rules, or sorry, we already talked about that. That data can come in different types. So here we have different types of data, obviously. We have this text that's in quotation marks, and it outputs as text. Then we have numbers, which don't have to be in any quotation marks. We have integer types of data of numbers, so that's just a number without a decimal point. And then often in computer programming languages, we'll have a data type called doubles, which are very different. So they have these decimals. It's not as important in Python as in some other languages. And then we have Booleans, which can be either true or false. And so we can do certain operations with strings. For example, we can add a string to another string. And we can also add an integer to a double, right? And so there are some types of data, however, that we can't do operations with. So for example, if we wanted to output string 16 over here, I would write string plus integer. Now this is actually not going to work. You would assume this would just output string 16, string 16, but it's not going to do that. I'll show you what it will do. Python 3 lesson 3.py. So it gets all the way to Boolean here, and then we get here and it says file lesson3.py line 30. So that's where we tried to do this. It's got an error, print string plus integer, type error. So it's referring to data types, the fact that these store different types of data. Can only concatenate string, not integer, to string. So you can't add an integer to a string. This is actually different from some computer languages, like JavaScript will let you do this without a problem. But you do need to be aware that different data types do exist. And so some different types of data they're of different types technically, but they can be used together, like integers and doubles, which are numbers that have decimal points, but some can't in Python. And so luckily there are these handy little functions that will convert numbers or other data types to a string. To know if we try to run it, we'll see Python 3 lesson 3.py. Oh, sorry. I'm missing a closing parenthesis right there. Yeah. Python 3 lesson 3.py. And see here now it can add it on. So it's important to just be aware that there are different types of data, and you have to understand that they're different, and that even similar operations when performed on different types of data will have different outcomes. So string times 5 would be very different from an integer times 5, which will just mathematically compute 16 times 5. Whereas string times 5, it's putting the string, or it's printing the string 5 times. And we covered data can be converted explicitly and sometimes implicitly, like sometimes the program will handle it with integer and double, but sometimes not. So, in our next video, we're going to talk about conditionals, so how you can have some code happen under certain conditions and not happen under other conditions. And that's going to be very important for writing more complicated code.